Bill Elliott returns to form at Talladega. Practice for the Indianapolis 500 begins. And Don Prudhomme continues to be snake-bitten. This and more next on Speedweek.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Speedweek. In addition to all the latest news and highlights, coming up in the next half hour, a very special guest. Unser Jr. joins us here on set to preview the month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Later tonight here on ESPN, another full night of racing, topped off with the USAC Western States Midgets live from Ascot Park in Gardena, California at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And also during Saturday Night Thunder, you'll see highlights from the Nascar Modifieds from Martinsville, Virginia, and IHRA drag racing from Darlington, South Carolina. But first, our top story. The Winston Cup Series is at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega, this weekend, and the two big questions are, can the Fords continue their hot streak, and can the Bodine brothers continue their streak?
The oldest of the two racing Bodines, Jeff, followed up his brother Brett's win at North Wilkesboro with a victory last weekend at Martinsville. That gave Ford 3 out of 4 wins on the short tracks this year, their best performance on tracks less than a mile in the modern era. Jeff's strongest competition came from Rusty Wallace, who looked like the Rusty of last year, leading for the first time since Atlanta in March. And speaking of streaks, Morgan Shepherd continued his by finishing third. He's the only driver in the series who has finished in the top 10 every race this year. But he's still 52 Winston Cup points behind Dale Earnhardt, who finished 5th at Martinsville. Bodine's victory vaulted him from 5th to 3rd. Mark Martin dropped to 4th, and Darrell Waltrip is 5th.
Bob, some stories off the racetrack from Talladega. Neil Bonnet announced today he will not be back the rest of this year.
Simple as it can be. The doctors told me I couldn't get in a race car for the remainder of the season for a year. And I'm being reevaluated every 3 months. I mean, I can't tell you how much I've gained on the thing, but I'm still not totally like I need to be on things. And kind of hard to come to the racetrack and see the race car run, think about not being in one.
At his press conference today, Neil Bonnet told about his first conversation with old friend Bobby Allison.
Bobby was the first guy to stop by the house about a week ago. And he was sitting on the couch and Susan was sitting over there kind of refereeing, and between Bobby trying to say what he was thinking and me trying to remember what he was saying, it was a hell of a conversation. Bobby said, he was trying to say it and I was trying to remember it. And Susan finally had to leave the room. She was trying to help both of us. But he also said something that day that really hit close to home to me. He said, everybody always walks up and says, boy, you sure look good. And I've had a million people tell me that, boy, you sure look good. And Bobby said it, but they haven't looked from here out yet. They can't see from the inside out the way it is.
And with Neil's announcement, Morgan Shepherd is now back in the Winston, unless we get a new winner tomorrow. Some stories on the racetrack from Talladega. Bill Elliott has put his Ford on the pole at 199.388 miles per hour. Now, that's Elliott's first pole here since 1987.
The way we ran here in 85, 86, and 87 was, especially with the way the cars were unrestricted, really felt good. And then they put the restrictor plate on. We came back and we were struggling. We qualified pretty decent. We were usually in the top 10 or top 3 or 4 anyway. When to finally come back and sit on the pole really feels good. The way the season's kind of been up and down, and racing's going to be up and down. And if you don't understand that, I don't guess you need to be in it. I've said that a lot here lately, but you just got to understand what it's all about, and continue to work hard to try to make sure you go in the right direction. And if you get off in the wrong direction, try to work back and get on track.
Here are the top 10 qualifiers for the Winston 500. On the pole, Bill Elliott. Second, Ken Schrader. Darrell Waltrip is third. Ernie Irvin is fourth. Dale Earnhardt fifth. Mark Martin will start sixth. Alan Kowicki seventh. Davey Allison eighth. Harry Gann ninth. And Michael Waltrip 10th. Derek Cope did not make the top 20 in qualifying, so he has got an uphill struggle trying to get the second leg of the Winston Million. Our reporter John Kernan has more with Cope.
Cope shocked the racing world earlier this year, not just because he won the Daytona 500, but because the little-known West Coast driver had put himself into a position to take over the point if anything happened to Dale Earnhardt. Well, as we all know, it did, and Cope added his name to the NASCAR history books. But since that time, Lady Luck has not smiled on the Bob Whitcomb racing team. Derek's best finish since Daytona, a 12th at Rockingham.
We had a little bit of problems the first couple of races. We didn't really have much time to test. We had a great run in Atlanta going. Felt like I had a chance to win, and could have been a top 2 or 3, pretty easily, and had engine failure, and we had an engine failure again. So we've had, a few problems with motors, and, that happened at Wilkesboro also. So that's been the biggest detriment to us, but we're on top of that now, and we're looking for good things.
Cope says he hasn't changed much on his Daytona 500 winning car, although Keith Thornton has gone to work in the engine room and may have found some extra horsepower. So the question, can Derek win tomorrow and then later capture the Winston Million?
I don't see why not. I think that, we showcased our potential pretty well at Daytona, ran consistently up front, and have put ourselves in a position to win, and that's all you have to do at Talladega. You have to be in a position to win and be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and if we can do that, then I think we have as good a shot as anybody.
John Kernan reporting for Speedweek.
Bob, get on down here because I don't want you to miss one exciting minute of the Winston 500.
Thanks, Benny. I'll see you there tomorrow. Well, you can see our live coverage of the Winston 500 here on ESPN tomorrow afternoon beginning at 2 o'clock Eastern Time.
Speedweek is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge. Coming up, Porche gets a new sponsor. And the Long Beach winner previews the month of May at Indianapolis.
Who knows what lurks in the heart of Dodge? The Shadow knows. 45 standard features, more power, a driver's side airbag, price to put Nissan Sentra on ice. Yes, the Shadow knows.
Shadow, with $1,000 cash back or 0% financing.
When it comes to overall performance, Road and Track confirms it. The Dunlop D40 M2 outperforms the competition. First in wet braking. First in dry braking. Second in lap times on the test track. Second in road holding ability. Road and Track proves you can't beat the Dunlop D40 M2. Dunlop outperforms.
Auto Parts Eagle One Supercar Sweepstakes, and you can win this Saline Mustang, specially equipped with Alpine Electronics, American Racing Wheels, Excel Ignition, Bilstein shocks, Floatwood seats, and Yokohama tires.
Come here. Closer. I want to look this good forever. Shiny, sleek, smooth. But if you don't treat me right, my shine could fade away.
Clear coat finish is still dull and fade. Z-Bart paint protection, a tough polymer sealant, blocks out sun and the elements, locks in shine. You'll never wax again.
Take care of me, and I'll look this good forever. I don't know what you see in that car.
Now get $100 off the total protection package at Z-Bart.
The Porsche Indycar team is coming to Indianapolis in an upbeat mood. Not only will they be running their new 1990 March chassis in competition for the first time, but they also have a new sponsor.
On Wednesday, it was confirmed that Foster's Lager, an Australian beer, will sponsor the team for the 1990 season. But terms beyond that were not disclosed.
Foster had a long involvement in motor racing with Formula One sponsoring the Australian Grand Prix. And this is the first time they're sponsoring the actual race car. And, I'm really looking for a long relation and a successful relationship.
With the IndyCar Series tentatively scheduled to run in Australia, CART Chairman Bill Stokan realizes the importance of international sponsorship.
what we have here is an American sport with probably more traditions than most sports in America. German technology and an Australian beer. I don't think you can enter the global village in a more significant way than that.
The association with Foster's came about after the Porche team advertised for a sponsor in the Wall Street Journal and other business publications. Steve Barclay, injured in a crash during the rookie orientation program at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last Friday, has been moved to a private room in Methodist Hospital and is showing improvement every day.
There were no other incidents during the weekend, and the fastest of the 6 who completed all 4 phases of the rookie test was Eddie Cheever, who recorded a speed of just over 213 miles an hour. Jeff Andretti, the youngest son of Mario, also was there and got the go-ahead to take part in practice for this year's 500. There are now a total of 4 Andrettis entered. If they all make it, it will be the first time in history that 4 drivers from the same racing family will compete in the same 500.
And speaking of racing families, another synonymous with the Indianapolis 500 is the Unser family, and we have Al Unser Jr. with us in the studios, ready for another month of May. I can't believe it, but this is your 8th 500, is that right?
Yes, it is.
I remember when you were a rookie. Does it seem that long to you?
Well, a little bit, yeah. We've been coming back to Indy since 1983, and we've learned a lot every single year, and we learned a lot last year, and so I'm really looking forward to this month.
You're coming in as the points leader in kart. You're also the all-time money winner on road courses as a result of your win at Long Beach, so you got to be pumped up because of that.
We really are. It's something I kind of like winning Long Beach because of the fact that it is the race right before Indy, and it pumps the guys up, it gets the team, lets everybody know on the team and all that we can beat these guys and we can win. And so if you do that right before Indy, then it's a real uprising for the whole team.
All right, let's talk about Indianapolis. Can you beat the Penske's on an oval?
Well, sure, you can beat them. It's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be tough, but we can do it. We ran real close to Rick at Phoenix. He's pretty much had everybody covered there by quite a lot, and this year it wasn't so far, so it was good, and I'm really looking forward to running against him.
Now, there's a lot of concern nowadays about speed. Are we going to see an increase in speed at the 500 this year?
I don't know. That's hard to tell. I think that they're going to be real equal to the same speeds we ran last year, but for new records and so on, I don't know. If there is, it won't be by much.
A lot of people are also saying that the smaller diffusers that they're using in the 89 cars and younger are causing some stability problems. Now, do you think that might be a problem?
No, not more so than it ever has been in the past. Yes, the diffusers on all the cars. It's not just with the 89s and older. It's in the new car also. When you get behind another car, it loses its downforce a little bit more than last year's rules did. And so we've discovered this at Phoenix. I haven't gotten a chance yet to test it at the Speedway at 200 miles an hour, but it'll be a lot like the way it was at Phoenix.
All right, your dad is going for number 5. He's with the Alfa Romeo team this year. Are there certain moments that you remember at the Speedway concerning your father and your racing efforts?
Oh, God.
A lot of memories, I'm sure.
Lots of memories. None really stand out, I guess 1987, if any of them would stand out, 1987 would, because of the fact that Dad didn't have a ride and he was kind of beating his head against the wall all month, and then all of a sudden one opened up and we talked about it. He turned it down, and then the Penske ride opened up and he got in it and won. And then I was beating my head against the wall. So,
well, we wish you a lot of luck, and thanks for being with us on Speedweek.
You bet.
Next week, we'll be live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with complete coverage of the run for the pole for this year's Indy 500.
I'm Larry Newber. Coming up next, a former champion returns to the SCCA Trans Am Wars.
In the Korean War because I felt so strongly that it was absolutely essential for all of us to do all we could in order to defend our country when it called. The Vietnam War, as you know, I was in a reserve and volunteered.
Jack Murtha received 2 Purple Hearts and the Bronze Star in Vietnam. He serves in war and in peace.
Have you heard what most banks say about their home loans? Well, at Southwest Bank, we know better. That's why we put together this informative guide. It spells out what to look for, how to make some wise decisions, and helps you find the loan that's best for you. All About Home Loans is free at any Southwest office. Don't make a move without it.
The world's fastest speedway is the site for the second leg of the Winston $1 Million bonus. See the Winston 500 from Talladega Super Speedway and you could win a new car. Sunday afternoon live on ESPN.
Checkered flag waves for Bob Lapalainen of Helsinki, Finland. And a Jack Roush crew that has been through more than its share of ups and downs this afternoon salutes their man. Winner of the first race of the 1990 season, the 25th year of Trans Am racing with the Sports Car Club of America, the 250th race.
The Sports Car Club of America's Trans Am Series headlines a big SCCA weekend out at Sears Point Raceway in California. And our Larry Nuber is standing by with a report. Larry?
Thanks, Bob. We're just a few miles north of San Francisco in the beautiful and mountainous wine country of the Sonoma Valley. The SCCA Trans Am cars make their second stop of the season here. And this weekend, a famous and successful name from the past makes a return to serious competition.
It's been a long time since I won the Trans Am or run the Trans Am, but yeah, you know, it's nice being here at Sears Point, do our first race here. It simplifies the situation for us. I know what the car should do. I got a lot of friends around here, and it makes a nice place to start.
Tom, it's an interesting story and a fascinating one, unfortunately one that's repeated in racing too often. Champions in the last couple of years haven't been able to find something that was pleasing.
Well, you know, I've been away from the sport for about 1.5 years is all. The last thing that I did was I was fortunate to run the Nissan GTP car with Brabham. Unfortunately, when John Morton got hurt, but Jeff and I won at Mid-Ohio, and after that, I really didn't run.
Tom had made the decision to return when a personal, financially beneficial experience occurred.
I had a little jackpot. I put 3 quarters in a slot machine up at wonderful Lake Tahoe one day, passing by, and I had an influx of money that certainly helps. Nowhere near enough to cover a program as big as this, but you know, every little bit helps. Now, if we could only get that casino to sponsor me on a full-time basis, I think I could be a hell of a salesman for them.
Thanks, Larry. The IMSA Camel GT Series is at Heartland Park, Topeka this weekend, and like in the Trans Am, there'll be another new face of sorts. Frank Stratton reports.
Camel GT spectators and competitors had their long-awaited first look at the latest from Nissan Performance Technology, the Nissan NTP 90. And what they saw looked very different from the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo that has 4 wins in just 5 starts this season.
See, one of the things we really had to address with a new car is that the old car was kind of seriously lacking in straight line speed, and we felt a lot of that was due to it was a very draggy car. It had good downforce, but it had a lot of drag. So the new car, we think, is a lot less drag. I mean, it's a lot smaller, a lot lower, and a lot of care was taken in trying to get some straight line speed out of it.
You might ask why Nissan would build a new car after winning 22 of the last 31 races.
Yeah, it's true that Nissan's dominated the Camel GT series for, let's say, the last 2 years at least. This year they're off to a good start again. But I think the handwriting's on the wall now. Their car is not as quick as the Toyota and/or the new Castrol Jaguar car. They've just outlasted us. In other words, their performance over the past 3 years is just what's carrying them now.
And then on the lighter side, I'd say they're just bored. They've been winning races like crazy, and Trevor's getting itchy to do something, so he probably pulled out a napkin off the table one night and started making sketches, and here we have this thing.
Yet reliability is just as important as sheer horsepower, and the NTP 90 will be put to the test for 300 kilometers at the Camel Grand Prix of the Heartland tomorrow in Kansas.
let's just say we're quietly optimistic that we think it's pretty good, but we'll just have to wait and see.
For Speed Week, I'm Frank Stratton.
Drag racer Darrell Gwynn, injured in an Easter Sunday top fuel crash, may be transferred from Stoke Mandeville Hospital in England to a U.S. medical facility within 2 or 3 weeks. Doctors are pleased with Darrell's progress, but he remains paralyzed from the waist down. Darrell's father, Jerry, tells me it's still too early to determine if the paralysis will be permanent. Meanwhile, the National Hot Rod Association is in Memphis this weekend for the 3rd annual Mid-South Nationals. And a couple of drivers new to the Top Fuel division this year, Don Prudhomme and Kenny Bernstein, hope that Memphis is where their luck will begin to change.
Prudhomme comes into the meet 11th in points. Last Monday, he suffered another setback when he crashed while testing at the Texas Motorplex.
The car was just on a usual run. It was really no big deal. We're just going to go make a half-pass run, and it blew an engine. It lost a cylinder and too much nitro in it and blew the side of the engine out, and it caught on fire. But the thrilling part is when it broke a fuel line, and the line basically got into the car with me, and it was filled up with fire in the cockpit, and so I had to get the car stopped, and I just put it up against the guardrail basically, and drained the engine and the car.
It was the same one he crashed just a couple of weeks prior to the season opener at Pomona. At midweek, the crew was in Indianapolis thrashing to get a new car ready for this weekend. And there were pieces arriving from all over the country.
So obviously, the biggest challenge is just getting it in the show real good. That'll make us real happy to get a brand new car in the show. I think we can do it. We have a good crew here, and we just need to turn our luck around right now, to be honest with you. Just things go wrong, and I just don't know what to say. It hasn't been a great year so far, and we'd like to turn it around.
Kenny Bernstein also is struggling somewhat in his Top Fuel program. He hasn't made it past the first round since the opener at Pomona.
People ask me what's wrong, but the truth is that if we were in funny car racing today, we'd probably be experiencing the same problems. It's not just because we changed to Top Fuel. The changes we made in the engine and the clutch area, the rule changes with the rear end gear to the 320 ratio, all those have come in to compound the problems that face us, and we would be facing them right now in funny car as well as Top Fuel.
Kenny is currently 9th in the Top Fuel points, but isn't ready to concede the title just yet.
What is more important to understand is that we've got to be competitive and be consistent to even have the chance to win the championship, and we're not right now, and that's what we're struggling to try to achieve. But no, the points race is certainly intact still. We're way too young in the season to be considering going for just event wins. We go to win every event, but the points are still in the back of our mind all the time to try to win that Winston Championship.
My car's been going better and better and better. Clinkety clink clunk clunk.
Next time your fuel injection system acts up, see an expert, your BWD installer, and get your car performing like new.
Can you fix it?
For the BWD installer nearest you, call this number.
Monster Motors in Big Irons with men who lived as fast as they drove, challenging Daytona, Riverside, Atlanta, and more in Stock Car Classics Volume 3. Call 1-800-992-VIDEO. Racing's best, including Parsons, AJ, Bobby Allison, and King Richard. Plus, a special bonus, the King and his Superbird in Victory Lane. Beta or VHS, call 1-800-992-VIDEO. Dick Wallen Stock Car Classics Volume 3, just $59.95. Visa and MasterCard welcome. Call 1-800-992-VIDEO now.
For the first time in several years, the California Racing Association is making a swing through the Midwest, but bad weather is making things difficult. They did run at Wichita on Tuesday night. That was won by Shane Carson, but were rained out at Danville, Illinois on Thursday night and at Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio on Friday night. Doug Wolfgang had an outstanding season in 1989, winning more races than any other sprint car driver in the country.
Although things haven't gone quite as well this year, Doug did win at Knoxville last weekend when the World of Outlaws visited the sprint car racing capital of the world. Now, there are a lot of things different from last year, including his new team.
They're doing a good job. It's not really their fault as much as it is mine. I'm not being able to put all of our resources together yet. We got started too late this season, and we're trying to run the Outlaw circuit, and it's a grueling schedule, and it's hard to keep up with the schedule and work in the shop.
and that's the only excuse I got.
The new team isn't the only thing that's changed from 1989. The whole spectrum of sprint car racing is different.
Well, I liked it last year, but there was 2 organizations to run with, and if we didn't run with one, there was a good paying race somewhere else that same night. This year, there's only one organization running. You know, USA dropped out, and that caused, you know, half as many races approximately, plus the fact that the World of Outlaws got a $75,000 to win point fund. It's pretty hard to give up one race and not be able to win the points because of giving up that one race and make up that difference again.
Amazing as it may seem, Doug says he has never won a series championship in all of his years of racing. The International Race of Champions kicked off its 14th season today at Talladega, and here are the results. Dodge Daytonas replaced the Chevrolet Camaros, which were used every year except 1973 IROC's first season. Donald Davidson has more in this week's Dick Wallen Racing Classic.
In an effort to crown the King of Champions, organizers gathered the best from stock cars, Indy cars, and road racing. This series was based strictly on talent, as the 12 drivers competed in identical Porche Carreras. All 4 races in the 73 season were held on road courses, 3 at Riverside and 1 at Daytona. And when it was all over, Mark Donohue had left little doubt that he was indeed the champion of champions. He started from the pole 3 times and won each time, including 2 wire-to-wire victories. Ironically, his title-clinching win at Daytona proved to be his last in active competition. He died following a Formula One practice accident in 1975. Of the original 12 competitors, only Emerson Fittipaldi will be back for the 1990 tour. He is also the only foreigner to have ever won an IROC event.
When it comes to overall performance, Road and Track confirms it. The Dunlop D40 M2 outperforms the competition. First in wet braking. First in dry braking. Second in lap times on the test track. Second in road holding ability. Road and Track proves you can't beat the Dunlop D40 M2. Dunlop outperforms.
Why does Dodge Spirit always come out ahead of the competition? Because Spirit gives you better comfort, with more rear seat legroom than any American or Japanese car in its class. Longer powertrain protection, plus the security of a standard driver's side airbag, Stanza and Accord don't even offer. All for $94.95, making it the best value in its class.
Spirit, with $1,000 cash back or 0% financing.
Sunday night, the Angels try to keep pace in the tough American League West as they face the hitman Don Mattingly and the Yankees. It's Sunday Night Baseball live at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Travel arranged through Eastern Airlines, now taking off with terrific spring fares to 17 Florida destinations. At Eastern, we're building a great new airline.
NASCAR sanctions races all over the country, and one of its divisions, the Modifieds, run primarily in the Northeast. So when its drivers come to the Southeast to compete, there can be a communication problem, as Benny Parsons found out a week ago in his Victory Lane interview with Jeff Fuller, the winner of the Raven Boats 150 at Martinsville, Virginia.
I think them tars, is that what you call them, Benny? Tars? Them Goodyear tars. Yeah, them tars. When we got down here, I walked over to that tire truck and I said, no, tar. No, yeah, tar. How do you spell that? I walked over. T-R. T-R? T-A-R. Oh, T-A-R, tar. I says, I need some tars. You know, I says, I need some tires. They didn't know what I was talking about. I says, oh, I'm sorry.
And Jeff drove his car to victory for the 3rd time in 3 starts at Martinsville. And that will do it for another edition of Speed Week. Now, don't forget to join us tomorrow from Talladega for the Winston 500 at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. We leave you with highlights from the SCCA Pro Rally won by Rod Millen. So long, everyone.
Speed Week has been brought to you by Quaker State,
The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when.